welcome. My name is Freya. I am a knitter and textile student living in Glasgow with my girlfriend Karina and my two cats Kiska and Floki. Welcome or welcome back. I hope you have been doing okay. I have been doing okay. It has been a little longer between my last video and this one. Just because I've not been knitting as fast as I normally would have, so there wouldn't have been any point basically, but I am back. I have got notes, so if I start looking down and reading, that is what I am looking at. Before I jump right in, I just want to say that I have links to everything that I talk about in the description box, links to my social media and all that good stuff. So everything's down there that I mentioned. So let's just jump right in. Before actually I talk about knitting, I will talk about something very sad and possibly a knitter's worst nightmare. So like literally a couple of days after I filmed my last one, I cut a chunk out of my left index finger, so I couldn't use that. And I am an English style knitter, I flick and then I push the needle down with my left index finger, and it's still kind of numb slash painful slash not really got this weird sensations. So I've only just started knitting like how I usually knit with it. So yeah, that was sad. I couldn't knit properly for a while, hence not much knitting happening. But anyway, it's okay-ish now. So I'm back to knitting, even if it is a little painful. But anyway, so that feeds into my first finished object. So when I had cut a chunk of my finger off, I had to keep the dressing dry, and I realised that I didn't have any fingerless gloves to wear outside the house. I have fingerless gloves that have like individual fingers on, basically gloves but with it cut off here, but I didn't have any fingerless gloves like this. So I decided to make a pair so that I could wear them out the house. I could tuck my fingers into it and it wouldn't get wet. So here they are. So this I made out of leftovers. I think it's coming up quite a lot brighter on camera. I can just about see what's on my screen. But it is literally just the most basic fingerless gloves. So let me try and remember the yarn. This is all leftover yarn, like I said. It was Drops Flora, I believe is what this one is, in off-white, which is a 4-ply consisting of 65% wool and 35 alpaca, might be wrong, held together with this Drops Kid Silk, and I think this one is called Cobalt Blue. I held this together on a 3.25mm. I looked at 2 glove patterns to get my stitch count. Then after that I kind of just guessed it and then just did my own thing, really. I wanted to use up as much as I could, and this is how much. I think I did quite well in the yarn chicken. I could have done like 2 or 3 more rows on each, but it was a guess, so I'm glad I didn't run out. And so 3.25, I cast on 42 stitches for the cuff. I did I don't know how much 1x1 rib, a little bit of straight knitting, an 18 stitch thumb it turned out to be, and then I decreased 40 stitches for this little bit, and went down to a 3mm, and I did an Italian bind off. I don't know what's the difference between an Italian and tubular bind off. I think it might be that one of them has setup rows, and I did do setup rows for these, so whichever that one is, I did it. If I had more dexterity, is that the right word, then I would have done an Italian cast on as well, but when I first cast these on it was like the day after I'd done it, and I really shouldn't have been knitting, but I had to knit something. So anyway, that's that. I've been wearing them like every day that I go out, because it's so cold at the moment. It is saving me. It is kind of making me want to make another pair, but just fully, like a fully clothed glove, because it is just so cold, and these are super warm because it's mohair and alpaca and all the warm fibres. So that's my first finished object. I love them, but I did make up the pattern, so I can't really link a pattern below, which is annoying. I might link the two that I briefly read and then got the lay of the land of how to, not how to knit them, but the stitch counts, and then I just made it. Anyway, I'll link them below, why not? So because I had a massive dressing on my finger and I couldn't even use it, and I had to hold it all the way out the way, which was so painful, and I don't think it, now that I think about it, I don't think it would have changed my gauge, because I tension with this hand anyway. It's just that I push down the needle with this hand, but I think I might have subconsciously been knitting more tentatively, which would have changed my gauge. So I didn't want to then knit on projects that I'd already started pre-injury, just in case it wildly changed my gauge and it ruined something. So I decided to cast on something completely new so that whilst I knit it differently, it would have the same gauge anyway. So I decided to cast on a Cumulus blouse, I think that's how you say it, by PetiteKnit. So the reason why I wanted to knit this particular pattern is because I don't have much or many jumpers that I can wear out the house that aren't like super thick, that I can't really wear indoors whilst I'm out because I just overheat so much. So I wanted to knit this pattern because it was a bit more of a looser gauge, and it looked like something that was quite professional looking, or that I could dress up professionally. I don't really know how to describe that. I think you know what I mean. Anyway, so I went, let me find the ball band. I decided to, because I was so upset that I injured my finger, I decided to treat myself to some new yarn, and because it was relatively low yardage, my memory is awful, but I believe I got this all together for like £28, £25, I can't remember, but relatively cheaper than say this, which was like £45, £50. Again, my memory is awful, that might not be right, but anyway, back to the Cumulus blouse. So I decided to buy Malabrigo, I think it's literally called Malabrigo lace. So backtrack. This pattern is actually calls for holding 2 strands of mohair together, but so I'm really jumping all over the place here. But my favourite ranunculus that I wear so much out the house is the short sleeved, I don't know if I showed it or worn it here, maybe I'll wear it next time. It's a short sleeved and it is 1 strand of very, very, very thin merino lace held together with 1 strand of mohair, and that's on 6mm needles. I wonder what this one is. I think this is like 5.5 or 5mm. Anyway, I love the gauge on that one. I've got mohair in my eye. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I love the gauge on that and it feels really nice, and it's kind of the perfect warmth slash not too warm, not too cold garment. So for this one, instead of holding 2 strands of mohair together, I decided to hold 1 strand of lace and 1 strand of mohair. So let me show. Oh, this is in colour. I'll show you the yarn. So this is in the colour Pearl Tan, which is, I don't know how well that's coming out, but it is like, it kind of looks iridescent in the way that it's like, I don't really know how to describe it, but basically it's like a dark aubergine purple with like a lighter purple which plays on the eye and makes it look like iridescent purple. Correct me if I am wrong, but I think Malabrigo's yarn is hand dyed, but because it's like big batch hand dyed, they can sell it for cheaper but still have the hand dyed look. So this is like very, very, very slightly variegated, which gives such a beautiful fabric, and it knits up. It looks more expensive, which I love, and I'm so happy that I could make a garment relatively cheaply that has that effect, blah blah blah. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent again. So it's held together. I held it together with a drops of mohair in dark grey, which in real life, I suppose it is a dark grey, but in real life it's kind of like a charcoal black. So together it makes a really beautiful colour, which kind of looks like a black, but like a complex colour. I can't really see what you can see, but this is how far I have gotten. I have knitted the body, but when I got to the bottom of the body, I decided to put the stitches on hold before I do the I-cord edging, because if I do the sleeves, I try it on and the length is wrong, ripping out an I-cord bind off in mohair is just not gonna happen. So I just kept it on hold, and I will do that at the end, just in case I want to add more length. I'm not really sure what length I want this to be, because I don't really want to have it cropped, but I also don't want to have it too long. So it's kind of finding that happy medium, which can be quite hard to find, because I've spoken about this before, but I always find that even if you try it on the garment, because doing the top down you can try it on periodically and really try and get the perfect length. But I find even if you try it on with the cords still on, the length kind of lies in terms of when you end up washing, blocking, all of that stuff. The length always seems to change a little bit. So what I'm trying to say is it's still hard to gauge for me. So it's still kind of a guess, but anyway. So yeah, I've done the body. I have not. Let me right. Okay, so I did a gauge swatch for this, which is quite a small gauge swatch. I do understand, but for this is my first PetiteKnit pattern where I found that I could actually get gauge. Because I've spoken about this before, but I found that my gauge was quite different to PetiteKnit's, but it turns out that is false now. And for her patterns, I just need to go up 0.5 millimeters to get her gauge. So knowing this, I just did a gauge swatch 0.5 millimeters bigger than what she called for, and I ended up getting kind of gauge. I'm pretty sure I got this gauge told me that I got bang on the stitch gauge, but I would be three stitches more on the row, no, 3 rows more on the row gauge, which would mean that I would have to do more rows in order to get the same length that she says in the pattern. Am I making sense? I don't know. So anyway, so that's fine. Not really bothered about row length, row gauge, because I can always just add in more rows. If I can quite easily do the maths in terms of if she says do X amount of rows, I can do the maths to see what length that would give her. Then I could translate that into how many rows I need to do to get that length. Whereas the stitch gauge is a lot more important. You can't really bodge that. You have to get that bang on in order to follow the pattern dead on. So I started to knit it thinking that my gauge swatch was not going to lie to me, but it did lie to me, which I didn't actually notice until I joined together to knit in the round, and then I looked at it, and I'm doing a size 2, I think, which would give me a 40-inch bust, which would be about 6 to 7 inches positive ease, which is what the pattern suggests, if I can remember correctly. I can't remember really. But then I measured it because I was like, that looks quite small. Or I think I tried it on and I was like, oh, this looks like it doesn't have much positive ease at all. So then I measured the gauge and it was like 1.5 or even 2 stitches smaller. Like, I'm so bad at describing this. Basically, I think it might be 20 stitches per 4 inches, and I think I was getting like 22 stitches for 4 inches on the actual garment, meaning that it would be smaller and give less positive ease. But anyway, I carried on. I was kind of a bit disheartened with that, but I carried on, and actually I really like the ease that this has now. I mean, I'm sure I could block it to be the right amount of ease, but actually I don't want to do that anymore. I really like the ease on it. I think it's going to turn out to be the same ease as the size 1 slash halfway between size 1 and 2. Anyway, what was I even talking about there? Oh yeah, okay, so row gauge. So because I knew that my row gauge was wrong, when I knitted the v-neck, and also I wanted a deeper v-neck than what the smaller sizes would have given. So I ended up doing, I'm gonna get my hair everywhere again, that happens every time. So instead of following the pattern dead on, which is like, I don't know, 1 row plain, 1 row increases, I did like every now and then I added in like another plain knit row or purl row, etc. And I think I ended up adding only about maybe 6 extra rows, which probably would have just made up for how different my gauge was. But I tried it on, and I do actually like the depth of the v-neck. It's not too low that that it's a bit edgy, but it's not too short, like too. How have I got mohair in my eye? But it's not too short that it's like pointless that I even did a v-neck, if you know what I mean. So I've not done the I-cord on the neck yet, which normally I would have done straight away really, just because when I do an I-cord edging, it always takes me so long to do, because normally I have to rip back and redo it like 3 times to get the right like elasticity in it, and I knew that that would slow down my excitement to knit this. And because I was a bit disheartened as to how different the gauge was, I was just like, I just want to get to the end basically and then do it, because I didn't really want to spend a whole day doing the I-cord and then just being like done with it already. So then I went straight on to do the sleeve. This is how far I've gotten. When I was trying on before I'd started the sleeve, I actually thought, I don't know how much you can see there. I actually thought the sleeve was gonna be too baggy compared to how much ease was in the body, and I was contemplating like decreasing straight away a couple of stitches to get like the stitch count for the size below, but I didn't. I stuck with it. I trusted the pattern because I do actually trust PetiteKnit's patterns now. It's taken a while, but I really trust them. I think she gets fit and ease and the ratios really nicely. She does a really good job of that. So I persevered, I did what she said, and it's perfect. So I'm really glad that I did that. But I had to stop knitting on this, which I'm really upset about actually, because I really want the finished top. And I had to finish it because I got an order in for some socks. So somebody asked me that she would like 3 pairs of Scrappy socks, and I don't know why I said, yeah, sure, that'll only take me 2.5 weeks, when I'm at the end of block 2 of my college course / at the end of a big project / have so much college work to do basically. So it's been a week already and I've only done 1 sock from 1 pair, and I've still got 5 more socks to knit. I don't think it's gonna happen. I didn't make any proper promises and no money's been exchanged, so I hope it's okay. But anyway, so I had to put that down, and I've not knitted on that for about a week now, which is super sad, but I love knitting socks, so it's okay. So moving on, let me see if there's anything else I need to say about that. No, nothing more to say about that. So we can move on to my next whip, because I've only got one finished object this week, which is weird because normally I have like like 3. But anyway, moving on to my next whip, it is Scrappy socks, because it would not be one of my podcasts without Scrappy socks, apparently. I think I'm just eternally doomed to have a pair of Scrappy socks on every podcast. So if you're bored of hearing me and seeing me talk about Scrappy socks, you can just skip on over to the next section. I will have chapters, is that what they're called? Linked below, and also you can like see it on the little bar. I'm so bad at describing these things, but I think it's obvious to find. Anyway, Scrappy socks. So this is my one and only Scrappy sock from, and I'm just about, I have like maybe like 5 rows to go before I can kitchen knit it up. So this is one. I'm sure she's told me when she asked if she could order some that she wanted 2 pairs of size 5 and 1 pair of size 6, but she's not messaged me to confirm that, and my memory is horrendous, so I could be wrong. So actually I'm gonna see her on Monday and ask her again and write it down this time. But anyway, this is a size 5 because I'm sure she said size 5. I cast on 64 stitches on 2.5mm needles, 2x2 rib for 20 rows, decreased 2 stitches, so I then had 62 stitches for the leg, and I did 50 rows. I then did a 60 stitch heel flap and gusset heel for 17 repeats. I then decreased to 62 stitches again. I do a 65 row foot for a size 5. Then I decrease by doing 1 row decrease, 1 row knit till I have, I always write down 8, 16, 8 because I have 8 on one needle, 16 on that other needle, and 8 on that needle. Is that 32 stitches? I think. Then I decrease till 12 stitches, decreasing every row, then I Kitchener it, and then I do it all over again. So that is how I do my socks. Normally, when I knit socks for other people, I used to do a 64 stitch, but for myself I do a 62 stitch, and that's kind of a happy medium between a 60 stitch and a 64 stitch because it gives leeway between, like, I think it, I'm not describing things well today. Basically, I think it gives an overall okay size in terms of if you have a smaller foot circumference, then it's not too baggy. If you have a larger foot circumference, it's not too tight. Does that make sense? Anyway, so that's what I've done. I'm going to knit another another sock for this pair. Oh my gosh, knit another pair, then another pair, and hope that I can finish it soon. I'm gonna knit like a crazy woman and really hope that I finish them soon, but I don't see it happening that fast because I have so much college work to do, so much college work to catch up on, because I was not having a good time at the beginning of this project, so I missed out on doing quite a lot of the work, which means now I have to catch up on everything, which is not fun. But anyway, that is that. So on to my last whip. So this has been a journey. So if you watch my last why am I looking at something? Okay. I thought I was seeing things there. So, if you watched my last podcast, you would have seen me talk about my Birds of a Feather shawl, which I cast on using Ching Fibre mohair and Chain Fibre Fjord Donegal held double, but since then I was looking at it and I just was not happy with the difference in fabric between the one strand of mohair next to the two strands of Fjord Donegal. There was too much of a difference in terms of the Fjord Donegal was thicker than the mohair, but in such a way that it was too much of a contrast compared to what the pattern actually wants it to feel like, if that makes sense. So I pulled that out. I was like, great, I can't use the Fjord Donegal. So then I actually had, I don't have it to hand, which is annoying. Then I actually had 3 skeins of PetiteKnit sock gear in the 4-ply in quartz, which is like a off-white, off-whitey, sandy, like beigey but whitey colour. I'm gonna get the mohair. So this is the mohair in question, and I thought maybe it would go with just like a plain colour to make this really pop. It didn't turn out that way. I wasn't happy with that either. I liked the weight of it. It was more harmonious, but the colour was wrong, and I was looking for ages and ages and ages for some colour that went with this. I was looking at a very, very dark brown because there is very, very dark browns in it. It's very, very dark browns / very, very dark greens and almost black. But I just did not want to spend any more money looking for the right colour of yarn, and I just thought I'm just gonna bench it and hope that in the near future I will get to a yarn shop that has a good selection of yarn, that I can take this in person, hold it up to all the different yarn colours and pick a yarn in person that I know will go with it, because I know just how different things look in person compared to online. So I was quite upset about that. I really, really wanted to knit with that mohair because I've never knit with hand-dyed mohair before, and I really like the colour, and I really wanted the finished garment shawl. So anyway, I got that for Christmas, and before Christmas I actually had already bought a combination of yarn to make another birds of a feather shawl, because I've already made it before and I love it, and I wear it basically every day because I have it next to me on the sofa and I just throw it on if I'm too cold. So anyway, I've been wanting to make another one ever since I knit that one, and I had bought the yarn for it, but I just hadn't cast it on yet, just because I was knitting other things, you know what it's like. And because I'd got into the mindset of wanting to knit this pattern, I just cast it on using the yarn that I already have, basically. Oh. So the saga has ended in me just knitting with the yarn that I've always had in my stash to knit this pattern with again. And I'm really, really happy with it, and I'm really, really excited to have this one. So this is more of a neutral shawl. I say shawl like that because it is kind of like a scarf. It's not like massive, and it's not like really thick in terms of, if you really wanted to, you could wrap it tightly, and it can be compacted into something quite small. Anyway, why was I talking about that? So I've had in my stash this, which is from Colomat, which is a website that let me remember this properly. It's a website that like buys dead stock or ends of coins of yarn. For example, if a company has been making jumpers and they discontinue making that jumper, but they have all this yarn left over, they buy it and they sell it on, so you can end up getting quite a good deal with them. It's all on cones, so that's, but I asked to get this wound into a skein, but normally they're all on cones, which makes it good for machine knitting, because I've gotten a lot of their stuff for machine knitting, like for my projects for college. But I seen this one and I thought, oh, that would be good for socks, because it's 70% merino and 30% other slash like some kind of a plastic fibre, can't remember what it is anymore. And I was like, oh, I'll get, and it's a chainette yarn, which is interesting, I've never used that before. And it's got a slight variation, and there's like little flecks of light pink, but it's mostly like a beigey. Anyway, it was a really beautiful complex colour. So I got it with the thought that I would knit a pair of fancy socks from the 52 Weeks of Socks book. But when it came, I thought, hang on, let me look to see if that was superwash merino, which it was not. And I'm really interested in knitting non-superwash socks. However, if I'm going to go to the trouble of making non-superwash socks, I do not want there to be any plastic in it, if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. Yeah, I don't really know the thought process there, but I do know the thought. I think it's because non-superwash is warmer. But when you add plastic into that mix, then it doesn't have the same feeling in terms of being breathable and being as warm. So I just thought there's no point. When I make non-superwash socks, I want it to be 100% non-superwashable. So then I got 150 grams of that, which would be enough for the Birds of a Feather shawl. And I had seen quite a few versions of it where it was just neutral colours, and it looked really beautiful. So then I looked for mohair to go with it, and I found this, which is Rowan Kid Silk Haze vintage, which is kind of it's not like one colour, it's like variegated with tiny bits of colours of other colours. So it's a more complex, interesting depth yarn, which works perfectly with this yarn together. So, long story short, oh my gosh, I cast it on, and this is how far I have gotten. Literally not far at all, because when I got to here, I hurt my finger, and I didn't want to knit on this, like I said, in case my gauge was wildly different. That's the wrong way around. So, like I said, I've knitted this pattern once before, and I love it. It's just such a soothing and satisfying pattern to knit, because there's always something going on in the row to keep your interest, but it is mindless enough for it not to take up too much of your concentration, if that makes sense. But with the added section of the, is it called feather and fan stitch? Anyway, it's just such a fun knit. I love how it's knitting up with the two colours. I am knitting this to wear out the house, and I specifically wanted to knit it in neutral colours so that it would go with pretty much everything. And I am so excited for this to be finished. I'm so excited to wear it out, because I just think it's such a beautiful shawl, and it's so easy to wear and style. I wear mine, I probably should have brought it through, but I wear mine like, it's like a squished out triangle, so it's not like a shawl that's like a really deep triangle, it's like an asymmetric long triangle. So I have the triangle bit on my back, and then I wrap it around again, tie it at the back, and then tuck in the ends here. So it ends up actually being quite a I don't know what the words are. It ends up being quite like I don't know the word, but yeah, it's just really nice to wear. I'm not making sense at all. But anyway, I also wanted to show you this my stitch marker, which my girlfriend got me for Christmas, and it's like a glass stitch marker with little flecks of gold in it, and it's just beautiful, and I think it goes with this really well. So that is my last whip. But I have one acquisition. Actually, I did have other acquisitions, but obviously I used that Malabrigo lace in the Cumulus blouse, which was a new acquisition since last time. I like to buy yarn, I like to find a pattern, then buy the yarn for that, and then knit it straight away. I don't really like to buy random yarn or even buy yarn for projects too far in advance, just in case. Just because I feel like if I buy the yarn and knit it straight away, that excitement hasn't worn off, and I'm just so excited to knit with that new wool. Whereas if I buy the new wool and I just have it lying around, then in my head it's like old wool, and then it's kind of like, do I have to use it? Even though it's beautiful wool and I really do want to use it, but in my head I'm just like, oh, I just want to buy something new now. I don't know if anybody else gets that. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, so, oh yeah, and I also bought a couple of balls of new yarn for my Scrappy socks, because I had said before that I basically was running out of interesting yarns to put in Scrappy socks, in terms of like I only had like solid colours to put in and not like variegated ones. So this top one is a new yarn, and that is King Cole Zigzag in, I can't remember what colourway. Then I bought this black and grey one, which is Salt and Pepper by Drops Fable. Then I bought this section, this green section, which is something like Green Mix or Green Stripe or Green something by Drops Fable. I also, trying to remember, got this one, this pink and yellow one here, which is also Drops Fable in, I can't remember colourway. Yeah, that's it. Just a couple of balls just to get some more variety back, and also to have some more patterned yarns to put in. So that's that. But my most interesting acquisition was a little gift from my girlfriend, and it is hand-dyed yarn. And so on Instagram, whenever there's like a giveaway, I always tag my girlfriend in it, because you know that's what you need to do to get like entered into it. So she ends up following those people and entering into the giveaway herself, so that gives me more of a chance to win. So she's ended up following loads of like yarn dyers and indie pattern writers and stuff like that, and she had seen that this dyer had just put out a stock update. So she decided to buy me some, and let me just get it. There might be a bit of rustling because I left it in the bag and I do not know why. So I have seen so many people have this on their podcast, and I've been so jealous, because one, their packaging is so cool, and two, the yarns that they dye are so cool. So it is hedgehog fibres. Look how beautiful this is. So this colourway is Renaissance, I think. It is their sock base. Originally, she had accidentally bought the DK Merino base, and she was saying, oh, I've bought yarn for you, like as a surprise, And I said, I don't like surprises, I want to know. So she was like, right, okay, fine, I'll show you. And I seen that she'd got the DK base, and I was like, Karina, I don't knit with DK hand dyed, one skein of hand dyed DK, like what would I knit with that? So I told her, Karina, I wouldn't knit with that base. And she was like, I didn't even mean to buy that one, I meant to buy the sock base. So anyway, she emailed them, and they very kindly just switched it to the sock base. And apparently they was so lovely, super fast, and just was really nice about it. Anyway, so yeah, hedgehog fibres Renaissance in their sock base, which is 90% merino and 10% nylon. So these are going to be super, I can't pull it out. These are going to be super special socks. And I was going to cast them on straight away, but a couple of days before I got this, before this came in the post, I got in that order for the 3 pairs of socks. And I don't want to cast these, well obviously I can't cast these on because I just need to knit and get those 3 pairs finished. But I'm so excited to cast these on for myself. There's actually, I want to try out a new heel, a new kind of heel basically. I actually seen this heel done by, is she called the Knitting Norwegian? I could be completely wrong. I'll try and link the video where she talks about it if I remember which one it is, which I probably won't. But basically she was doing the heel flap and gusset method, but she has the same problem as me in terms of she has a really high instep. So every heel that she does doesn't give enough room to accommodate that. And even if I do like 20 repeats of the heel flap and then pick up more stitches, it still is kind of not really the perfect fit. And I am just in search of the perfect fit because I've just made it my mission apparently. And she was showing a heel technique, and I think she said she can't remember where she's seen it either, and if it was even like a written down pattern. But basically she was doing the heel flap and gusset, but when she was going down here she was also increasing stitches here, so it ended up giving more fabric here. That's probably a bad description of what she was talking about, but yeah, she was basically increasing here, so it turned out to be more of like a triangle section here. Oh my gosh, does that make sense? But anyway, I'm gonna try that out. I'm gonna try that out and try and write my own pattern for that, not to like publish, but just for me to follow, just because that makes so much sense to me in terms of creating a better fit for my heel. I'm sure it's not hard, it's literally just increasing, but I do want to keep the slip stitch pattern, so that might take a bit of maths and thought process. Anyway, so I'm excited for that basically, long story short. And she also got me a little mini, which is the Raku, again in the sock base, which is, this is 20 grams, which is 90% merino, 10% nylon, and it's such an interesting colourway actually. I wouldn't have put these colours together myself, but I think it looks very cool. And I love the name of it. I think it's so cool. So excited for that. I'm probably going to, for this one, I'm probably going to knit. Why am I just so bad at describing things today? I'm probably going to knit a sock. And the main colour of the sock is going to be a relatively plain colour. And I'm going to do contrast heel flap and gusset with this colour. I should be able to get, I've done the maths before, and I should be able to get a contrast heel flap and gusset out of a 20-gram mini if I do a shorter cuff. Maybe I'll just do a contrast cuff and toe or something like that. But anyway, because I want this to shine, so that's just the most logical way to do. So that is everything. That's everything. Yeah, sorry about the lack of finished objects, but hopefully next time I will have finished all of my pairs of socks, touch wood, and hopefully, touch wood, finish that Cumulus blouse. I really don't want to have that on my needles for too much longer, just because I want to wear it whilst the weather is quite cold, because even though it's a looser gauge, it's still mohair, so it's still gonna be warm. And also I just really want to wear it because this, going into like college or going into my internship, I want to look put together, if you know. Anyway, so that is everything. Thank you so much if you've gotten this far. I really appreciate it. I hope you are doing well and having a nice time. If you are not, then I hope things start to look better. I think I'm going to start recommending things that have helped me to feel better. So I thought I'd throw in a little I don't know, but one thing that has helped me in terms of helping anxiety and things like that has been progressive muscle relaxation therapy. It's a mouthful, but I've actually not looked for resources online about how to do it, but I'm sure there's loads and probably videos, and I follow like a little, well, when I was being taught how to do it, she would guide me through it, and also she gave me like a worksheet of like, you know, the different steps of how to do it. But it's called progressive muscle relaxation therapy. Look it up. It's good if you've tried like breathing techniques and that's just not for you, or mindfulness and that's just not for you, because that's what I felt, and it does take quite like, you got to be quite regimented with practicing it, because it doesn't, or at least for me it didn't help straight away, but once it becomes sort of second nature, you can sort of get into tune of where you hold the tension in your body and be aware of how that is fueling how your mind understands, you know, anxiety. And anyway, yeah, I'm sure there's loads of resources online, so I hope that helps. I'm not sure how many more tips I've got, because that's kind of the only thing that we've tried and that has kind of helped. But anyway, maybe I'll just say it every time, just try progressive muscle relaxation therapy, and I hope that helps somebody. Rambling again, but thank you for watching. I hope you're doing well. I hope that helps, and I will hopefully see you soon with all of that stuff finished, and I will try my hardest not to cast on anything else and to get that stuff finished. But yes, I will see you I will see you soon. Goodbye.